Well, welcome to Podcrushed. Are we going to address the elephant in the room, or
me?
The elephant who's not in the room?
Guys, I missed you guys on this one. I was really sad I wasn't there.
We missed you, Sophie. It was wonderful, but it wasn't the same without you. I was thinking about you.
Yeah. Well, good. Secured my spot.
Yeah, Sophie. Just like very briefly, can you tell us why you weren't there?
Yeah, so actually this episode was supposed to be recorded later, and we got this incredible opportunity to do it in person in New York. Nava's there right now with Penn, and it's just hard to get on a plane with a baby last minute, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a little tricky. So I wasn't able to make it out for this one, but I was really bummed.
Yeah.
Today's guest is Saweetie, the multi-platinum selling and streaming musician. Her debut single a few years back was Icy Girl. She had that summer anthem, My Type, the mega hit Best Friend with Doja Cat. Most recently, Nani and Rich Tivity's track where she is especially on her self-proclaimed pretty bitch shit. I'm glad finally now I'm not the only one. She's got a new album on the way. Something else we talked about. She does talk about it in other interviews too, but anxiety and meditation, actually. Saweetie's shared that her meditation and visualization practices have helped her discover her life's purpose to inspire and empower women, and we were really eager to learn more about that. So you're going to like this one. You're going to love it. You're going to treasure it and cherish it. Don't go anywhere. Welcome to Podcrushed. We're your hosts. I'm Penn.
I'm Sophie.
And I'm Nava, and I think we would have been your middle school besties.
Trying on my mother's fur coats and memorizing Shakespearean monologues. Is that anybody else? No? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Honestly.
Welcome. I'm so excited, sweetie.
And I told my PR, I was like, I don't want to do a Zoom.
No, I'm so glad you pushed for in person. I feel like they're so much better in person.
Yeah.
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 This is awesome.
Yeah, no, really, because we would love to do them all in person, but these days with podcasts, everybody just wants to Zoom in.
And I was pushing. I said, I'll wait. And then this opened up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, so you do know a bit about what we do here. We like to start at 12.
What's so special about 12?
Well, that's what I want to ask you. I mean, it's a formative time, right? So it's like before that, you're a child, right? And then after that time, like when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, and we still want to hear those stories too, because the teen years are good. But then you're much closer to an adult. But I'm really interested to hear what you were like at 12. Like, can you give us a bit of a snapshot? Home, school, and also, you know, because you're a performer, you're an artist.
Yeah.
What I always want to hear about as we get into home life, school life is where was that, where was the artist coming out? You know, how was she seeing the world?
Well, before I was 12, I wanted to be a Disney princess. So I was always singing around the house. I would like sing while I did my chores. I would sing while I was folding clothes, sing in the shower.
Okay.
But I would always tell my mom I wanted to be a Disney princess growing up.
Did you have a favorite one?
Probably Mulan.
Okay, yeah.
Got like that warrior spirit.
That warrior spirit, and I was a tomboy.
Nice.
So I related to her story the most, just always wanting to, you know, do what the boys are doing and prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of, because I know you grew up with a large extended family, right? Like lots of cousins?
Super big. Both my mother's side and my dad's side is a lot of family members.
Was a lot of boys?
A lot of boys on my dad's side and a lot of girls on my mom's side.
Okay.
Did you gravitate more towards the boy cousins or the girl cousins?
Honestly, all my cousins. I feel like they all were just so special to me. On both sides of the family, I'm the oldest granddaughter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
I love all my baby cousins.
They must
that's
all be
really
so
nice.
proud of you.
What's the age range? Is it a big age range?
So I would say, man, there's a set of cousins for every generation. Like each set, we have like an abundant amount of kids that were born per year, or you know, closer to a time you were born. So no one was ever really lonely growing up when there was like family functions.
That's so nice.
That is really nice. So were you amongst them? Were you the one who was always like singing?
No, I was shy.
Okay.
Yeah, I was shy. So I would do it at home, but as soon as I got into like the public space, I'd kind of be like quiet. I would say I was quiet, not an introvert, but just a quiet extrovert when I wasn't around like, you know, my home.
I feel like I can feel that energy today, and I kind of want to get into it. It's too early now, but circle back to sort of you seem like you have like a shy, gentle spirit. How
Which
that
is
interacts
lovely.
with being really famous and
it's
recognized everywhere.
Until you get to know me.
Sure, that's fair. Well, that's actually, I mean, to me, that's what you often find with performers, like people who are really good, competent, become professional. I think there's a shyness. I know I was very shy as a kid, but then there's this part of you that is like, well, but if you put me on a stage, I can, totally open up the way that I open up with, the people who are closest to me. Is that kind of the way it was for you as you?
No, not necessarily, because I feel like I open up a different way on stage rather than a situation where I'm with like my best friends or my mom or my dad. It's a different type of opening up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you had a big family. I guess it's this dynamic in this era of middle school. Like school is such a huge part of life, right? What you roll your eyes. What was?
Honestly, my school experience didn't become pleasant until probably like my high school years because I was able to go to school with my cousins. But kids are mean. And
They really can be.
I had a lot of experiences where I was constantly just like tested in school. And I just wish I had a older brother or a sister growing up just so that it wasn't such a shock to me when I got to school. Because I was so used to being around like loving cousins, and then you get to school and you realize there's other personalities out there.
Yeah.
And you're like, hold on, bitch. Who are you trying to treat that way? But I would say it was a shock going to school and seeing people have, a range of personalities.
Yeah.
Growing up, when I would get babysat, it'd be like with all my cousins. So I was used to like traveling in a pack when it came to like being in social environments. However, when I got to school, I'm an only child. I have no family attending the school, so I felt really like lonely. However, my best friend, who I'm still best friends with today, on the first day of school, I kind of stalked her. And that's how we became best friends.
Wait, what stood out to you about her? How did you know she was the one?
She just has a really magnetic aura to her. She's a beautiful girl. And I just liked her vibe. Yeah. And she tells the story way better than me. But it was the first day of school, and there was a carpet. And me and her were sitting on the towards the end. And as the teacher is talking to the class, I keep scooching over to her, and she keeps
so cute. Oh my god!
No, but she keeps scooching away. And mind you, like I was a big kid, like I was like bigger than like most kids, and she's really tiny. So finally, she got to a place where she couldn't scooch anymore, and I was like, "Do you want to be my friend?"
I feel like that says a lot about you. Yeah.
What did she say?
She was like, "Sure." She's very. As she got older, she got more comfortable in her skin. But as I felt like as child, she was more so the quiet one. But now she's so full of personality.
That's so nice.
You're still friends.
Yeah, I actually just saw her 2 weeks ago at my birthday.
That's awesome.
Yeah, happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Sweetie, your parents are quite young. They were like quite young when they had you. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And were you very close with them growing up, or sort of how was that dynamic?
I feel like they raised me more so like a teammate rather than a child. They would always tell me, like, you got to do your part, like, do your homework, do the chores, do this, do that, because, like, we didn't have that much. So in order for us to, be successful as a family, they would always say everyone needs to do their part. Yeah. So, like, I kind of grew up in, like, a teammate type of, I don't know what kind of, like, parenting style that is, but they were always just trying to teach me how to be, like, a team player in the house.
Were they disciplinarians?
Very much.
Yeah, you called them enforcers in one interview, which I like that.
Yeah, they were very strict, and they were
like
definitely
Army
enforcers. I would say Army in their own style.
Yeah. Do you think that's the kind of parent you'll be if you want to have kids?
No. I think I'll take the softer approach.
Okay.
You do seem quite soft. Like, in the best way. There's you have all kinds of personality in your songs and stuff, but you are actually, as you advertise, which is very sweet. I get this sense. It's really lovely.
Thank you.
Your grandma gave you your nickname, right?
Yeah, there's actually, it's a longer nickname. I don't want to say it because then my fans will start calling me it.
Okay.
But it's like 2 names before that, and then it's Saweetie.
Okay. I was going to ask, did she choose that? Did she think you were the sweetest of the cousins? Is that sort of how you got it?
To be honest, I'm not sure. We all kind of have our own nicknames when it comes to her.
Okay. That's really...
And was she in the house? Like, I mean, because, you know, what it sounds like is just a very large family, but then actually your nuclear family, you're just your mom, your dad, and you didn't have siblings, right?
No, I didn't have siblings for about 11 years.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Well, so then that's right around that time as well. You know, I have a 17-year gap between my older sister, half sister, obviously.
Oh my goodness, that's a long gap.
Yeah, and then between my 15-year-old and my 3-year-old, there's an 11-year gap.
So same as me and my sister.
This is a very random aside, but Penn and his sister look exactly the same, even though they have that
similar
gap. And I saw a picture of her once at his dad's house, and I thought it was Penn in a wig. And I was trying to figure out if he'd been in a movie where he had to play a girl, like the exact same face.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
The same with me and my sister too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So was it? I'm kind of interested in, like, you've also said, you know, and I mean, we all say things like, I know what it's like to say something in an interview, and then you get quoted later, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I said that, but I mean,
right?
Like, what's the? But you know, first of all, I've really noticed that you're pretty open in your interviews. You know, you're very thoughtful about your childhood, your formative years. You know, what it's been like coming into fame and success. I think that's really commendable. Not everybody is. So there's this like dynamic I'm thinking between, you know, you have this big family where you feel so much support, but then there's also there seems like there's a strand of like, I don't know, like isolation or loneliness, as you say, you know, and you described yourself once as a sad kid a little bit. And again, I don't want to freeze you in that quote because you're many things at once.
I think I was a yearning type of kid. And I say that because when I would come home from school, like around the ages 11 and 12, I had my own house key. So while my neighbors did look after me, I had access to my house. And my dad had a rule: come home, do your homework, wash the dishes, then you can go out and play outside until the street lights come on. However, like I would miss like my parents being home when I got home from school. Like I wish they were helping me do my homework. My grandparents babysat me a lot. So it sounds dramatic, but I would listen to like the old school station. I think it was like The Quiet Storm. I forgot the numbers though, but there was a song that would come on. It's called Wishing on a Star. And I would like look out the window and I would cry. I would look at the stars, and I would call my phone, and I would call my my parents, and I would leave them voicemails.
Oh my goodness, that is so sweet.
It's also like very romantic.
Yeah,
like a romantic soul.
No, but I would just miss my parents.
Yeah, you're like
so
longing
much.
after your parents. That's really touching.
Yeah, so I would say I was just yearning just to be in my parents' presence, but I understood that they had to work in order to support, you know, our lifestyle.
What was their response like? Would they be like, "Hey, got your voicemail"?
It'd be like, "Girl, you are so dramatic." One time, I filled my mom's voicemail box up.
Wow!
In one day.
Aww. That's adorable.
Very
so
precious.
you know, so I got the 15-year-old and the nearly 4-year-old. We wish the 15-year-old would leave us some voicemails. We wish we would get that kind of response.
Aww.
But I feel like as a parent, you know, for me in this generation, the idea that he could still be longing to see us the way that he does now is like when he's that age, when he's like 12, 13, 14. That's so sweet. I mean, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
Do you are you close with him now?
Yeah.
That's good.
I think we're close. I think we speak more frequently than we used to. When I went to college, I really didn't speak to a lot of my family members. Yeah. Why? I'm not sure why. But
I get that. I was the same way. Yeah.
But my mom would always tell me. My mom has tried to be very proactive with our communication. But then my dad will chime in and be like, "Well, I mean, this is how we raised her, to be hyper independent." So,
are they missing you now? Are they sending you the voicemail?
They
they check on me a lot.
Yeah.
That's really
So
nice.
sweet. Sweetie, I've heard you say you're an avid reader, and I'm just curious what kind of books you were reading at that age and sort of how they shaped you.
At that age, I mean, when I was younger, I was reading, what's that Wayside School?
I don't know.
It was it was really good. It was like the Wayside School series. It was about a school series, and it's an interesting building that had many tricks in it. I got to look it up after this. I was reading this book called Pixie Tricks. It was like a fantasy book that took place in like a fairyland. And as I got older, I got into like more like urban books.
Okay.
That were very spicy.
Okay.
Like The Coldest Winter Ever, like Fly Girls, like The Cartel. But as like a young girl who was coming of age, those books are really interesting because I didn't have a big sister teaching me about, puberty and growing up.
Yeah.
So that was my way of kind of like learning what was out there.
Did your parents ever, I mean, I'm guessing there was not a lot of conversation about that with your parents, right? Yeah.
They just be like, that girl love to read.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Well, how about music? Was music becoming something that seemed like it would be on the horizon for you yet, or was it still? Because I also remember you said at one point that the first thing you wanted to be was like a hairdresser.
Yes,
right?
a hairstylist. Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know when, that shift. Like when did music start coming alive for you?
So I felt like as a child I aspired to be a singer, but somewhere along my childhood timeline I kind of like forgot about that dream, and my interest peaked in doing hair because I'd always do like my friend's hair and I was good at it. And I was like, oh, I could see myself doing this as I grow up. However, there was a career fair in high school and we had to look up the salaries for the job we wanted.
Right.
And at the time, hairstylists now, especially celebrity hairstylists, they make a lot of money. But back then, the money wasn't moneying. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, I fell in love with music because I was already writing poetry. And once I realized that music is just poetry over a beat, that's what made me want to be an artist again.
For your first raps, do you remember sort of your very first rap? Were you like in the mirror? Were you with a friend? Like, do you remember that?
Yes, I actually remember so I had an Algebra 2 class and the boys in the back were rapping and they were all like, oh. So I was like, I wanted to go see what they was doing. So I'm just observing them and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go home and write a rap. So I remember staying up all night and I was so into it and so passionate that I was sweating.
Wow.
Like real life sweating as I'm writing this rap. But I stayed up until like 4 a.m. I was really happy with it. And I wrote to a Millie by Lil Wayne. That song was really hot then. I went back the next day at school and I rapped for them and they all like went crazy. And mind you, these are like the critical type of...
Say, that's not like the age group where people are just going to be nice to you. It means you were actually like killing it.
Yeah. And not for nothing. I mean, you were a girl, like which I'm sure...
Right. So just going back to that Mulan moment, I always wanted to like compete with the boys. But I went back and got such a positive reception that it made me want to go home every day after school and just write raps.
That's so cool.
So how old were you there? Like, I'm guessing 14?
I would say, I would say 15.
Okay.
15.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's really when it came alive.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what was that trajectory then?
So, after I graduated from high school, I got a MacBook and I actually found this MacBook and I would record myself rapping all the time. You could definitely see that there was a young girl trying to find herself. Like the raps like varied, like different tones, different styles, different types of energies that I'm, given in each video. I was like, damn, I was really committed.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Podcrushed is brought to you by Symbiotica. I started taking Symbiotica because I'm actually in the middle of filming the final season of my show. It's incredibly demanding, physically and mentally. And I kept getting these little sinus infections. I really didn't want to get fully sick. And I got kids at home, always trying to find time to be with my wife. Doing the podcast here. Frankly, I'm burning the candle at both ends, stretched just a little bit thin. I kept getting that little, that nasal drip. Was really scared of getting something much worse. And one time it did. I realized something has to change. And since I'm not going to quit my job or abandon my family, I knew I had to get a little bit healthier. And since taking their products, I've noticed a change in my overall health, my energy levels, my sleep quality too. I'm more confident that I can take whatever my overwrought schedule is going to throw at me. Their products are formulated with the highest quality ingredients out there. You can taste it too. Symbiotica is transparent about how and where they source their ingredients to ensure you get the best products possible. Their formulas don't have any seed oils, preservatives, toxins, artificial additives, or natural flavors. In a time when we are just getting bombarded by inflammatory ingredients like that, it's awesome that Symbiotica is putting in the work to hold up to scrutiny. I take their liposomal vitamin C, which apparently promotes collagen production and boosts immunity. I can definitely feel the immunity. I don't know where I would feel the collagen production, but I don't know. Is that in my face, my lips? Do I look good? You'll be the judge. The magnesium L-threonate vanilla cream flavor is delicious. They really do taste so good. And like I said, you can immediately taste the quality of their ingredients, and you can feel it too. So I do love them. I take them every day. Feel more energized, alert, and balanced with high-quality supplements that work. Head over to symbiotica.com and use code PODCRUSHED for 20% off plus free shipping on your subscription order.
This show is brought to you by Rosetta Stone. Learning new languages is incredibly important. It keeps your brain active and adaptable, and Rosetta Stone is my go-to for language learning. Whether you use it on your desktop or through the app, Rosetta Stone offers an immersive experience in the language you wish to learn. Je parle un petit peu français, mucho español, yet kami farsi. If you want to know what I just said, you're going to have to turn to Rosetta Stone, my friends. For 30 years, Rosetta Stone has been a trusted expert in the field, serving millions of users and offering 25 different languages. They focus on rapid language acquisition without English translations, enabling you to truly speak, listen, and think in your chosen language. Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. For a very limited time, Podcrushed listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. Visit rosettastone.com/podcrushed. That's 50% off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/podcrushed today.
I want to ask you some classic questions that we ask every guest. Can you tell us about your first love and your first heartbreak?
My first love and my first heartbreak. Oh my God.
And these can be like silly ones in elementary school, or it can be like the one that really shaped you.
That really got you.
Whatever you want to share with us. Yeah.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, my parents were really strict. At this point in my life, I'm living with my mom. We're living in Palo Alto, and I'm going to JLS middle school. And I remember I had like my first crush, my first fake boyfriend, because I wasn't allowed to like socialize. The school dances are as far as it got, but I couldn't go to people's houses. I couldn't go to the parties that the other kids were throwing outside of school. So I had like I would say like a boyfriend, like, you know, at school.
Yeah.
However, like he would become frustrated because I couldn't hang out. You know, it was go to school and come home.
Yeah.
Like I had to go to school and then come home and call my mom from the house phone.
Wow.
Yeah, she didn't play that.
Yeah.
And then she would like randomly call throughout the day, and I had to pick up the phone.
Wow.
You know, she was on it. No, she was on it. But going back to that, it was in middle school. I think I was like in 6th grade. He would always invite me to the movies, to the park, and I couldn't go. Yeah. So he slowly started to ghost me.
Oh no.
And I remember which
is hard to do when you go to the same school.
Yeah, I'm just like, like he's not as, you know, into me as he used to be. Yeah. And I remember there was this beautiful girl. I can't even hold you. And lunch had ended, and she was walking through the hall, and she was holding his jacket.
Oh no.
And I remember just stopping in my tracks, and I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and she's smiling because she knows that, like, people knew that me and him were like dating, but I didn't even kiss him. But you know, she didn't have a strict household. She was one of them girls that was outside all the time. And I remember just looking at her, and I'm just like, damn, I wish my mama wasn't strict. I didn't even think to be mad at her. I was just I was just so mad at my strict household.
Wow.
But I don't know, it probably saved me from doing things at an early age.
Well, yeah. I guess that's why I was asking. But I'm curious, did you write any poetry about that, boy?
No, I started writing poetry when I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
So this was 6th grade.
So this was building up the tank for the poetry.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the feelings.
Okay, we have one more classic question. Do you have any embarrassing memories from that time? Anything that like stands out to you as particularly?
Embarrassing moments. So fast forward to my junior year in high school. I was playing club volleyball in the off season, and I had
By the way, you were like a champion athlete, right? You were like
Yeah.
your high school's best.
female athlete of the year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so bad at sports. I'm like actually in awe.
Oh, thank you. So during the off season, I had sprained my ankle, and I was on crutches. And I remember, oh my gosh, like the clothes was tight, like I was still trying to be cute.
Yeah.
And I remember like my pants were tight, so they started to sag, and I had a really heavy backpack, and I'm like crutching my way to class, and my crush walks up to me. He was like, "Do you need help?" And I'm so embarrassed because like my pants are falling down, my backpack's heavy. I'm kind of like this, and I'm just like, "No, I don't need your help." But I'm just like, "Please stop looking at me and go to class."
It's funny how with crushes we seem to turn them away. If they ever approach, it's like no.
Yeah, and it was just so awkward. It was raining, and like my backpack was heavy. My clothes were too tight.
Yeah.
Like I was just.
So wait, where does sports fit into? Because I'm remembering that. Yeah, like you were such a good athlete. Were you playing before that, or did you just kind of like rock up to high school and suddenly like I can play now?
Well, I grew up playing sports.
You did,
so,
okay.
My first sport that I played was football. And that's what I wanted to play.
Like American football.
American football. Because as I mentioned, on my dad's side, there's a whole bunch of boys. So there's always like a football laying around in the house.
Right, okay.
So that was the first sport I played. Then I played basketball. I didn't really like that. It was too much running. Then I played baseball. I love baseball.
Really?
Yeah. Baseball, like I love that sport. So I always like grew up playing. However, I didn't find my love for volleyball until 7th grade. My mom forced me to try out. And she was like, "Please just try out. Like, I promise you're going to love it." I tried out and I fell in love with volleyball.
And that's the sport that you sort of...
That I stuck with.
Yeah.
That's the one that I was playing in season and off season.
Do you still do any sports?
I try to when I can, when my nails are short.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's one thing that I miss. Is that I wish I'd stayed with through my 20s. So now I'm like towards the end of my 30s now. I really wish that I'd kept sports up.
What sports did you play?
Soccer.
Oh, yeah, I like soccer too. Soccer during recess.
Yeah, it's not, it wasn't taken as seriously when I was growing up. So it was kind of hard to stay connected to. But.
So, Saweetie, you had an experience in middle school that was kind of
Traumatic.
traumatizing.
It was traumatizing.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that incident and sort of how it shaped you and your approach to friendships?
So I had an incident in middle school, and there was now that I'm rewinding back into it, there was actually a good thing that came out of it. I'll get to that point. But I was best friends with these girls, and we were kind of like in a big girl group. And I remember getting like my first boyfriend, and like somebody who there was I had a phone, so I feel like because I was older and because I wasn't allowed to like go to the movies, I was allowed to do activities outside of school, we were able to see each other more. So it felt like my first real boyfriend. But I remember after a couple of weeks after we were dating, I had went home for the weekend and I started to receive these really weird voicemails. And at first it was a prank. And then it went to like voices that I knew, and then it turned into like me figuring out who these people were.
Yeah.
And we used to prank call a lot of people. So I'm just like, as a kid, you're just like used to this, like, oh my God, who playing on my phone?
Yeah.
And I remember towards the end of the weekend, it had got like the calls had went from funny to like aggressive. Like the progression was crazy. And at the end, they threatened me. They're like, "We're gonna jump you like on Monday."
Were they saying why they were mad at you?
It was just kind of like calling me names. And I let my grandma hear it.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, well, invite them to the house. If they want to fight you, invite them to the house, because I mean, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
We invited them over to the house. They didn't come. And I remember calling someone in the girlfriend group. Her name was Khadijah. And I was like, what's going on? Like, have you heard of like why they had to change a heart? Like, I'm trying to like figure out why these girls who were my friends, why they had switched on me. And she was like, I don't know, but if they have a problem, if they got a problem with you, they got a problem with me. And I remember going to school that Monday, and she was so on it, and I had no problems.
That's awesome.
That's an amazing
So
friend.
I actually ended up getting a best friend out of that situation.
Yeah, out of your other weak friends.
Yeah. Are you still friends with Khadijah?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just
that's
saw her.
awesome.
I just saw her 2 weeks ago at my birthday party too. Yeah.
So
That's
nice.
awesome. I love that you're having all your friends over at your birthday party. I haven't had that kind of party in a long time.
Yeah. That's also such an interesting dynamic. Like people, it sounds like maybe being jealous of you and then deciding to like take that to a place of violence. So interesting at a young age. Yeah.
Yeah. I experienced that a lot at a young age.
Wow. Do you feel like it's made you tougher or more vigilant or?
Honestly, it's made me hyper aware of my surroundings. Like I remember, taking the bus and almost always getting jumped. And
Wow.
through the grace of God and through angels and through other people just looking out for me just never happened because someone would always have my back. Even if I wasn't close to them, it'd be someone who like knew me or was just an associate, and they would see what was about to go on and they would like something would prevent it.
Wow. I love that you said that through the grace of God or angels, because I feel like I've had experiences like that too, where I'm like, this could have gone so wrong, and I always feel like it's a higher
She
force.
has a crazy story about nearly drowning.
Yeah.
Really
Oh my
crazy.
God.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Really?
Okay,
Yes.
we'll talk about it. Do you want to
Yes.
share your drowning story?
Okay, so I was in Hawaii, and typically I'm with my cousins, but this time I'm alone with my mom, and I decided to go out into the ocean. Like I'm a water baby, so like
Same.
I love to swim. Are you a water sign?
Cancer.
Me too.
amazing.
What
I'm a water
day?
sign as well, but I'm a Scorpio.
Okay, Scorpio.
July 17th.
Like,
It's coming up this week.
Oh,
Next week.
happy early birthday.
Thank you.
So we're in Hawaii, and growing up, we had this thing where we would jump with the waves, and when you do it right, you're able to like. So if the wave is going like this, and if you jump at the right time, you are able to like go high into the water and then go down, and it feels like a water slide.
That's so cool.
But I remember I missed my jump, and I don't know if I jumped too early or too late, but I wasn't able to reach the top. I think I reached the middle of the wave, and a tide took me under.
No.
So I was underwater probably for like 10 or 15 seconds, but it felt like
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they're
And-
getting crushed. It's
and
a
the
lot.
tide just keeps like bringing me down. Girl, why do I get up? I stand up and the water's like this high. No, but that just shows like how dangerous
Yeah,
like
no.
the
No,
water
it's
is.
true.
Well,
No, it's
it
true.
wasn't the time that you...
Yeah, the time I almost drowned, it was like to here. I could stand, but I couldn't get out of it. There was like a suction force.
And that's often where people drown
yeah,
out
and
there.
in that week that I didn't die, 2 other people did in the exact
The
same.
so it's a suction
It's
force.
a suction force.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
really
what got
hard to
me.
get out of. Yeah, yeah,
The ocean.
yeah.
Water.
The ocean's strong.
Nothing to play with.
Yeah.
So let's get back to like, you're going through high school, you're getting to college. You're
I wasn't gonna go to college.
you weren't going to, really?
No.
What happened?
What switched you?
So I wanted to be a rapper, and I felt like no rappers went to college. There's only one that I knew who I admired, J. Cole.
Oh, right.
And I was like, that's the only person who I know went to college who became a rapper. But other than that, like, I don't want to go there and then miss my opportunity to get discovered. So I wasn't going to go to college. And at the last minute, I was like, you know what? I got to get out of Sacramento. Like, I want to go somewhere and just, have a fresh start. So at that point, I had missed my dream school's deadline. My dream school is USC. However, the Cal State University applications were still open. And I'm not sure if it's still this way, but one application can go to like several schools. So I'm like, okay, it's my best bet to just apply to multiple schools. I applied to multiple schools that were in the California State University system and got into like 5 and then picked San Diego State because they have a high transfer rate to go into USC.
Right, right.
You're so strategic, and then you did
And you
end
did
up
go
at
to
USC.
USC.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you study at USC?
Communication with the emphasis in business.
Are you glad you went? Do you think it was worth it?
I think that college is great and it teaches you invaluable skills like existing and working with different cultures who may have different morals and values. It teaches you time management. It teaches you accountability, responsibility. I don't necessarily remember the topics that were taught in the classroom, but I remember like the skills that I acquired to become more mature and to become essentially a businesswoman.
Can I say or ask, either now or when you were applying to college and getting in, was there part of you was like, all right, thanks mom and dad for enforcing in that way? Because, I feel like you clearly had the grades to rely on. You had, you don't just like apply and get in anywhere. I mean, you were accepted because you were pretty academic. Was there any point where you felt like, damn, well, I'm glad in some ways that I had been kept on that like straight and narrow path at all? Because you were talking about this sort of mixed emotions around it.
Honestly, I hated college.
All right, fair.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have had the personality I've had now. I wasn't always as social. Like my childhood, like I was a quiet extrovert. Like if you knew me, then I can open up. But if I'm not familiar with my surroundings, I don't expose myself to certain things. And my biggest regret in college was not establishing, more genuine friendships. I'm not joining more clubs, not going to, academic dinners I was invited to because my grades were good for a semester. It was very much so go home, go to work, or go see somebody, who I was dating, or friends who were outside of college. Friends who may have been from my hometown but weren't in my college. I think that's one of my, I don't regret a lot of things, but that's one of my biggest regrets. I wish I would have created a stronger social circle.
Yeah, you feel like you didn't make the most of it, maybe?
No,
Right.
I didn't. I feel like I went to class and then I went home.
Yeah.
I think I'm really glad you're sharing that because I feel that way too sometimes. My first year of college, I was like that. I really focused on out of town friends. But actually this month I've been shadowing Penn on the set of You. And I've been trying really hard not to spend too much time with Penn. Actually, it's quite easy because he's quite busy. But just to meet the crew and talk to every person on the set, which isn't what I'm always like. But I've really been I'm only here for a month. You feel like I'm always like that?
Well, I mean, I know you in a particular context.
Yeah.
I know you in this context where we're trying to build things. And so you make a conscious effort to do
That's
what we're
true.
talking about. You make a conscious effort to network. And you, in fact, encourage me to do it, which
that's true.
I'm not
I'm
that way
always
either.
telling-
I have spent the first 20 years of my career being like, I'll be over here.
Yeah.
It's
true. I'm always like, can you please get dinner with this person? After this, I'm like, can you please become friends with Saweetie and take her to dinner? No, but I feel like I've been just trying to meet everyone and be like, I'm only here for this amount of time. Be here. Don't be on your phone. Don't be thinking about LA.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a recent shift for me. I don't know. But Penn doesn't.
That's good.
So.
I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah.
You're even more of an introvert than I realized.
Can be. But anyway, no, I think that's really good advice. Saweetie, you have an incredible story. I think it's so inspiring of how you had some financial struggles, gave yourself a deadline, and then broke out. Can you tell us that story for our listeners who aren't familiar?
Yeah, so I remember graduating from USC and not having that much money. So I decided to apply for a whole bunch of jobs. And I had got the majority of which I applied for. However, the requirements was 40 hours plus a week. And if I were to do that again, I was then putting myself back into the situation that was similar to college, whereas I'd have to focus on work and not my music.
Yeah, right.
So I remember I had got a job as doing something at a hospital, and the salary was, I think it was around $45K a year. And at the time, that was a lot of money to me. And I had to make a big decision. I was like, either I'm going to take this job and be stable and gamble with, my music career, being that I wouldn't have that much hours to focus on it.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to give myself a deadline and continue to do these odd jobs and see if I get discovered. And if I don't get discovered, I'm going to go back home. So on the 9th...
Sorry to interrupt. You didn't send demos and stuff you sort of wanted to be discovered on social media?
To be honest, I don't think that was a demo era.
I don't know that it is anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Or at least I didn't know that there was still, people who were looking for demos.
Okay.
And at the time, I couldn't afford the studio. So my way of getting my music out there was rapping on Instagram.
Yeah.
And, you know, first it had the 15 seconds to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it was a minute.
Oh, that's right.
So as it progressively went to a minute, my fan base got stronger because I was able to rap longer.
Yeah.
So I actually was able to take the opportunity of not being able to afford studio time and saw my social media as an outlet. And through that, I got discovered on my 9th month. And I had gave myself a year deadline, and thankfully I got
That's short.
discovered. Yeah, on my 9th month.
Wow. I mean, 12 months is not a lot of time, and you even did it in the 9th month. That's impressive.
Well, it was a year of me just kind of like figuring it out, not really having a schedule. And after that year had passed, I was like, I can't do another year of that.
Right.
So I gave myself a new deadline, and if I didn't reach that, then I would go home.
Were you anxious? Like, how are you sort of as you're getting closer and closer to your deadline and it hasn't happened yet? What's keeping you like motivated and persevering?
Faith, praying, God, because every time I think I wouldn't be able to make rent, I'd make rent. So thank God for those odd jobs.
Yeah. So you felt like there was like someone giving you just enough to push you.
And I'm a little delusional. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna make it work. I don't care. I'm gonna figure it out. Like I always felt like I always feel like something's gonna work out for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that delusional mind state is what made me believe that I could even become an artist.
I agree with you, by the way. Just I think everybody who makes it has to be a little bit delusional, or a lot.
I feel like there's an art to being delusional. There's a positive side and there's a negative side. I feel like on the positive side, if you're delusional, but you compare that with hard work and consistency, magic can happen.
Yeah.
But you can't be delusional and lazy.
That's true. Yeah, that's the worst combo.
Completely true.
That is definitely the worst combo.
I think that's the most aggravating thing to be in, like, to be in the presence of someone who's delusional, but then they're not doing any of the hard work. And you're like, well, where are you going to get with all that?
It's true.
It's true. Because the numbers are that you're going to fail. Like anybody, it's tough when like young people ask me, you know, how they might get into acting. I mean, it's because they see somebody, you know, maybe like on a show like mine. And I mean, the chances are you're just not going to make it there. So you have to have a level of delusion, but that's not an encouraging thing to say, you know, but it's an interesting balance. So real quick, when you were in college, where was rapping then? Because like we're hearing about the, you know, how you were trying to balance the work and art, but like when you were in school, did you have to put it even more on the side, or were you still kind of like doing the social media rapping too then, or where was it?
I was primarily focused on the social media rapping. They had this thing called 15 second freestyle Fridays. So I would like join in that. But the only time I did go to the studio is I have an uncle. His name was my Uncle Sigmund. On my birthday or on holidays, he'd buy me studio time.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good uncle.
Yeah, so that was the only time I go to the studio.
Yeah.
When people want to relax, I think maybe some of them might go online shopping, right? That's pretty common. Maybe you look at homes that you're not going to buy. My wife definitely fits in that category, along with many of our dear friends. Might I suggest a change? Try taking a scroll through Viator. I have to say it's really engaging. You can fantasize about travel, and maybe you could just book one. Viator is the perfect tool to ensure you plan and experience the best trip possible. With Viator, you can easily explore and book over 300,000 travel experiences around the world. So whether you're into history or adventure, or just looking for something unique, Viator has something for everyone. Whenever friends come to visit me in New York City, I know they feel a little overwhelmed by all the sights to see. I do too. And I mean, I rarely see any of those things myself living here. I'm never sure what to tell them. But Viator makes it very simple. And they even let you see other user reviews too. So like right now in New York, you can book an Ellis Island tour, an architectural yacht tour, or I like this one, a Greenwich Village food tour. As a New Yorker, I got to recommend that because the Village is where it's at, if you want to have those most iconic city strolls. Also, they offer free cancellation to help you plan for the unexpected. Viator's 24/7 customer service is awesome too. Traveling can be full of surprises, and it's comforting to know that support is available anytime, day or night. Download the Viator app now to use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator.
The way we approach learning with our kids is crucial to their well-being. Each kid has a unique learning style. Whether your child needs a boost in a subject or isn't being challenged enough in another, they deserve a customized educational approach. IXL Learning is an online program covering math, language arts, science, and social studies. Designed to help kids understand and master topics in a fun way, IXL provides positive feedback to keep them engaged. I really appreciate IXL's approach to learning, and they're making a significant difference for kids all over the country. Children using IXL have seen significant improvements in their grades, proving the program's effectiveness. Nationwide research actually shows that students using IXL score higher on tests. I really wish I had had something like this when I was growing up, particularly to help me with math. I definitely could have used the support. Get this, a single subscription covers everything from pre-K to 12th grade because IXL wants to make finding education you can trust as simple as possible. IXL is used in 95 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S. Make an impact on your child's learning and get IXL now. And Podcrushed listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/Podcrushed. Visit IXL.com/Podcrushed to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
Saweetie, you were discovered with Icy Girl?
Icy Girl, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What it felt like? What does it mean that you were discovered? How did that feel?
So interestingly, the place and the environment where I wrote Icy Girl is the complete opposite of what the video portrays. So I was running rooms off of Craigslist, and when people ask me why I did that wild thing, when you're running rooms, you're not required to do the contract with the apartment where you do the deposit and then first month's rent.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have the pay stubs to back that up, and I didn't have enough to do a deposit and first month's rent.
Yeah.
I'm like, So
and if you're in New York, it's the first 3 months rent, which is so
New York
crazy.
is brutal.
Yeah, it's just insane.
So my alternative to that was running rooms off of Craigslist. And at the time I was running a room and I was writing Icy Girl. I remember I had a love seat, like a mini love seat couch and a mattress.
Yeah.
The positive side to that is your room barely gets dirty.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
But I remember I was writing my rap and I was just so frustrated. I'm like, why am I calling myself an Icy Girl? I feel like a fraud. Like at first the rap was just very flamboyant. And I was like, you know what? Let me say what I want. And let me say what I'm about to be, which is why I say, look it in the mirror. I thank God for what I'm about to be. Because I was literally looking in the mirror and I was like, I don't like you. Like, we have to improve, friend. Like, So although I didn't appreciate myself in the moment, I was appreciating my future self because I always just knew I would make it. Yeah. It's just a feeling that you have. So even when you say, when people ask you, how do you get into acting? I think any entertainment, whether they're an athlete, actor or a musician, it's just something you have to just know in your heart of hearts.
Yeah.
So I remember looking in that mirror and I'm just like, we're going to get there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then how did they reach out to you? Who reached out to you? How did it happen?
So my bad. So I had finished my rap. I had posted it on SoundCloud. Someone had saw the rap and was like, you should shoot a video to this. I shot a video and I thought it was going to get like a couple thousand views. It was like wildfire. That video, as soon as it was posted, I had so many write-ups with like hip hop blogs I respected growing up. I had a lot of bloggers covering it. Some people were even playing it on like, mixed show radio, because mixed show radio is like, if I remember this correctly, it's the DJ's choice of like songs they like, whether if it's program or not program. But I was getting a lot of love. And after that, several deal offers came through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was back in like 2018?
No, this was 2016 or 17. No, 2017. Okay. Yeah, 2017, I think.
That's amazing. You have collaborated with some incredible artists, and I'm curious, what's your favorite collaboration?
My favorite collaboration is actually my Punjabi collaboration.
I was just listening to that this morning.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good.
His name is Diljit.
Okay.
And what I love about this is that it exposed me to a different culture. Because I'm used to, being in the R&B and rap space. But this type of approach, I would say, just opened my eyes. There was words that I had to pronounce a certain way. I had to learn what they meant. And it was just nice being exposed to a different culture and just learning about a community that I wasn't so familiar with. His team was great. He's great. And I just really appreciate their experience. And actually, a couple days ago, he sold out his first show at the Crypto Arena.
Wow.
No
That's
opener.
incredible.
Yeah, he's pretty big.
Yeah, just
right?
purely
Incredible.
by himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like him and I like his team. They're very respectful, very humble. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And I appreciate how they treated me and my team.
So when you look for collaborations now, what are you looking for?
I genuinely have to like the song.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has to fit my brand. I remember when I first kind of popped off, there were songs that I had to turn down because they didn't really fit my public messaging. And I'm happy I did that.
You seem like you have a lot of strength of character, and I'm trying to find the right word. Like, you seem like you're comfortable saying no where maybe some people wouldn't. Like, even the fact that you have really taken your time with your album, and you gave an interview where you said like you didn't feel like people were taking the art seriously, so you paused. I feel like that's so bold. It takes
is.
like a certain.
It's not easy. I mean,
Yeah, like a certain courage that I think a lot of us wouldn't have in your position.
Well, I get that from the moments where I did say yes when I should have said no. And you know, when you say yes when you should have said no, you kind of feel robbed.
Yeah.
And I don't like feeling that way. So because I learned through my mistakes, I know that I shouldn't say yes when I should say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me think of, so I know on about a year ago when you did Heart to Heart, I don't know exactly when you did it.
It
but
was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay,
I had
it just came-
freshly shaved my hair out.
Yeah, which also looks great.
It did look
thank
great.
you.
I have once had the same short pink.
Really?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Oh, we should throw a picture
When
up.
you were
like
doing
it.
music, right?
Yes, actually, it was the last year I was playing music, and
Yeah.
then
Are you guys being facetious?
no.
No, he
No,
had a
I
band
had it.
called Mother.
Yeah, and,
Oh,
and I had that
Really?
hair. Yeah.
I want to
We'll
see
play
that
you a
picture.
song
Yeah,
later.
it's on Spotify.
Okay.
It's good. I can say, I'm happy for anybody to hear it, but it's not gonna blow up now. You were talking about wanting to create an environment for your record, which, by the way, are you like finished? Are you still working on it, or is it coming?
I'm still working on my album,
Okay.
but
And no pressure. I'm just curious where in the timeline. It
actually,
is.
I'm really happy that I've waited. At first, I didn't know why I was waiting.
Right.
And then I realized there was a moment where I needed to take my art more serious. But there's a difference with wanting to take your art more serious, and there's a difference of knowing yourself better. Like, just because I wanted to take my art more serious, at the time, I was still trying to figure out who I was. And I think that the mindset that I'm in now, she's the woman who is ready to put out an album, rather than the girl who was just green and not knowing what she was doing and kind of naive when it comes to like the music industry. When I first entered, I don't think she was ready to put out an album, but I think the person who I am now is ready.
You were talking.
excited.
I think that's really mature and like smart of you. You were talking about creating an environment, like you wanted to like rent a house and just be somewhat, I think, secluded. I don't remember the word you used. I don't know if it was secluded, but is that still the kind of the vibe that you have? Like you just want to be in one place, write, record. Is that the sort of environment you want
You
when
also
you're making
said,
something?
that just because it's on topic, that you wanted to, I think I wrote it down, you wanted to nourish your spirit in order to create art, which I loved
yeah.
that concept.
I think I'd want to balance, especially when I come to the closing days of finishing the album. I do want to be in a place that's secluded, but I do want to be able to access, life as well, because I feel like life inspires the art. But just having the balance between being able to retreat and then being able to be outside so that I'm constantly experiencing life.
How do you nourish your spirit?
Now, you know what? Self-care is kind of scary.
What do you mean?
And I'm going to tell you why. So I did my first weekend of real self-care this past weekend, the 4th of July weekend. I had stayed home. I went to the chiropractor. I got a hair massage. I got a regular massage. I was reading books. It was the first time I really sat there and took care of myself. But then when it was time to go back to work, I felt like a deer in the headlights because I was so used to being by myself. It felt really chaotic to me. And normally I like being outside.
Yeah.
I like being in social circles. But the self-care really just made me appreciate, my solitude.
Are you still meditating? Because I know that you were talking a lot about meditation in that sort of press cycle you were in. Is that part of your self-care still?
Back then, I was meditating heavily to the point where I can meditate for up to 2 hours.
Nice.
Wow.
But I have to get back to that. I kind of like lost my ways once I started working a lot again. So I find myself meditating when I get really angry.
Yeah.
Like, so I'll do
Nothing like an angry meditation.
Yeah. No, it calms me down. So I'm just like, okay, before I overreact, let me just put myself in timeout and let me breathe.
That's such a good approach. Yeah.
Well, I find I really don't like the person who I am when I become angry because I may say things that I don't mean. And once you say them, despite whether or not you mean them or not, the other person hears it.
Yeah, it's there. It's there.
It's there.
It's so true. I happen to love the person I am when I'm angry.
There you go, acting like his character.
It's not true. It's not true at all.
Yeah. Sweetie, can you tease anything about the album? Are there any songs that are already recorded? Is there a vibe, a theme?
I'm singing a lot more.
Okay.
And what I love about my songs when I'm singing more, I'll play it for a group of people and they'll be like, "Oh, who's the feature? Like, who is it? Is it a new singer? Like, who's that voice?" And I'm like,
"It's you.
It's mine."
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
Awesome. That's so exciting.
If our research is serving us, have you said that you wanted to start a media company?
Well, I definitely foresee myself having a media company. And the purpose behind that is I feel like there's a lot of creatives out there who know how to shoot, but there's no vision. And I think that's one of the most frustrating. However, it makes me become a teacher which then also teaches me more about, a craft that I love. But when I'm working with people who may have a good camera, they may have all the right props, but there's just no vision. Like, what story are you telling when you're shooting content? What story are you telling when you're shooting a picture? How are you editing it? How is it making that person who's viewing it feel? Like, just because you have a good camera doesn't mean you have a vision.
Of course, yeah.
So I would love, when time permits, to kind of get my own village of creatives who I train, because then I can use them rather than having to like reteach new people who I'm hiring from time to time. But I think it's really important, and I feel like that's what distinguishes, a photo and a video and art. Am I looking at a photo or a video? Or am I looking at art? Like, what's the intention? What's the purpose behind it? Why did you shoot it this way? What angle are you using? But those are all of the things that, to be honest, Tumblr taught me.
That's amazing.
I was a big Tumblr girl. Like, that's where I get a lot of like my aesthetics. That's where I develop my interest for just my own brand. Like, I've always like shot with purpose, and I think it's because of Tumblr.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Sweetie, we're so excited. We're gonna make hopefully some art. Is that too?
We're gonna make some TikToks. If you're open to it.
If you're open to it.
It's something that we do here.
We'll put the Sweetie seal on it. We have a final question we ask every guest. Do you want to ask it, Penn?
Sure. If you could go back to your 12-year-old self, what would you say or do?
Honestly, I would say stop thinking so much and try not to be perfect. I feel like as a child, because I was raised so fast, I was always hyper self-aware of self, like trying to do the right things, trying to be perfect. And I wish I would have made more mistakes. And I feel like my dad always told me, like, you have the rest of your life to be an adult, like be a child. But contrary to that, he and my mom were enforcers.
And then it's like, but then do the dishes, and then do that, and then you can go outside. Have you done all the other stuff?
I mean, the beauty in that was I was able to learn how to be responsible at a young age. But because I was given so many responsibilities, I was always thinking about how I had to just, be a good child. So I wish I was just a little bit more reckless.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying about wishing you sort of bumped your head as a kid more than as an adult.
Oh yeah, going back to that, I just wish I wish I was able to be outside a little more. But as you get older, you hear the weird stories about going up to other people's houses and how white parents don't allow that. So maybe it would have saved me from, unfortunate experiences like that. But because I was just so hyper aware and responsible as a kid, I don't think I made enough mistakes. So there was a point when I got older where I'm just like, I need to just try different things because it just felt too perfect. Like I needed to learn more about life.
Do you feel like you learn more from mistakes than like just nailing it?
Absolutely, because from a mistake, you're able to see if you like it or if you don't like it. And if it's a mistake, then you don't like it. But I try to view things as more so like a lesson. It makes me have less shame about whatever the situation may have been.
Well, we already asked our final question, I check.
Well, on that note, make some TikToks.
Everybody take some breaks. Take a break right now. Thank you, sweetie, so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
You can stream and buy Saweetie's music on all the usual platforms, and you can keep up with her online at Saweetie, spelled Saweetie.
We are so excited that you can now listen to Podcrushed ad-free on Amazon Music. In fact, you can listen to any episode of Podcrushed ad-free right now on Amazon Music with an Amazon Prime membership.
Well, one thing that you missed is that Saweetie had the most beautiful shoes that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm sure that our editors are going to do a good job of not cutting to me every time I'm looking at her feet. But at one point she was looking at me and I realized that I was staring at her feet and I think she was a little thrown. So I even addressed that at the end. I was like, oh, listeners, if you're watching, but it was really for Saweetie to know.